There's an Easter egg in Hyundai's color codes. And what's the point of all this advanced engine tech anyway? And where do we go for our DIY car maintenance needs? We get to the bottom of these questions and more on this week's episode of CNET Roadside Assistance for January 19th, 2012. This is episode 41. And I'm Antuan Goodwin, alongside Wayne Cunningham, and Stephen Beacham joins us at the controls today, production duties. So let's just kind of jump right into what I think is the most interesting email that we're going to get all show.
Ever.
It's about the Easter egg in the Hyundai Veloster's color code. Now, our Veloster that we tested in December and talked about maybe on the last show, maybe the show before that, it was a weird color yellow, 26.2 yellow. And I remarked,
that was a vivid yellow.
I don't know what the hell that even means. It's just like 26.2 yellow. All right, I'll buy that Hyundai. We'll just call it eye searing yellow and call it a draw.
Yeah, is that like a Pantone code or something?
I don't know. Well, I'm familiar with Pantone codes, but I've never seen a 26.2. So we get an email in from a listener whose name I forgot to put down, and he basically states that 26.2 is the length of a marathon in miles. Is it?
Oh, okay.
So it's technically, if you read it like that, it's marathon yellow.
That's the classic marathon distance.
Yeah.
Marathon yellow. Okay, I get that. That's smart. That's, yeah. Hyundai
Makes a ton of sense.
Hyundai's quite clever.
Yeah.
You know where the term marathon came from?
Where does that come from?
It comes from a battle in classical times, a battle of Marathon, where some two armies clashing outside Athens, and this one of the soldiers had to run and get more reinforcements, and he ran 26.2 miles, I think, or kilometers. That's...
Was it kilometers?
Well, then it was probably...
Then it was probably cubits or something.
Oh, no, it's actually 26.2 miles.
Yeah.
Through 42 kilometers, and they're using some other term back then. Some other measurement. But the, king's nose lengths or something.
Yeah, well.
But so, yeah, he had to run that 26.2 miles, get back to Athens and say, hey, we need more soldiers.
And then he died immediately.
Lungs bursting, and they all said, hey, you ran a marathon.
I'm pretty sure like the part of the story they don't tell is like the nipples bleeding and pooping yourself.
That's graphic.
Which is why I will never run a marathon, because I'm not pushing through that.
I'll drive 26.2
I'll
miles.
go home at that point.
So 26.2 yellow, marathon yellow. That's fine. I wonder what other number word things you could come up with.
I don't know. But it's interesting for me, like how they pick these colors. Specifically the names for the colors. It's always just like, it used to just be like brilliant white, and now it's just like whatever Frostmore and white.
Well, in a former life, I used to actually work in a paint store, and we would every year the new deck of colors would come out, and we'd all go through the different names because the names are really goofy.
Yeah,
and that was a good hour of laughter.
Yeah, I'm waiting to start like catching like sci-fi Easter eggs, just like Enterprise Gray or something like that.
That'd be a good one.
People will get it and they'll buy that car because they're nerds. I'm a nerd too, so I don't feel bad about saying that. We got another email coming in from Phil. Phil says, "Hey guys, I got an aftermarket stereo question about the 2010 Hyundai Genesis Coupe. I have the version with the automatic climate controls, but without nav or infinity sound." And he basically shows us a picture of what it looks like. We have already seen it. He says, the head unit in this car is horrible, and I want to replace it with an aftermarket unit. Here are my priorities. He wants it to look as factory as possible. Most car stereos are over-designed monstrosities, and they either have a doubled-in... Either he wants a doubled-in touchscreen or something with a centered knob. That's about as much as he thinks he can hope for. And he also wants to know if there's any way he can get the USB port and auxiliary jack that are, basically at the base of the probably, I think in the Genesis Coupe they're actually in the center console to work with this car stereo. He says Crutchfield says that it's impossible, but Best Buys and Fry say they can do it, but only they can do it. He wants to know if we have any recommendations for a stereo and getting those connections to work.
Yeah, this should certainly be doable. I guess the problem is finding the one that looks factory. That's the big problem because, all these, car stereos have pretty outrageous looks usually.
Well, if you're looking for something that looks as factory as possible, the Genesis is Illuminations blue.
Okay.
So I would say Alpine.
Yeah, that's not bad.
And I mean, they have some good units. They actually have some really some new units that are coming out for 2012 that are pretty cool looking. I think the INA. Hang on for a second. I can actually look those up for you right now.
Yeah, lots of the head units too. You can adjust the illumination too to the color that might match your car.
Right. Yeah, you can do that with maybe the Pioneer AVIC units. You can adjust the illumination on those.
What I noticed before though, sometimes they have these big chrome knobs on their plastic chrome, and that can clash or look a little gaudy.
What I'm seeing a lot of now is that no knobs.
Okay.
You just get like a big old 7-inch touchscreen and like 8 buttons across the bottom that don't really attract a lot of attention.
That's not bad. That's not bad at all.
One stereo that I'm testing right now, and you'll have to wait until after this show before you can decide whether it's something that you want or not. I'm testing the Parrot Asteroid, and I think that would look right at home in the Hyundai dashboard. It's a single DIN unit. I don't know if that's something you'd be interested in, but it's a nice center-mounted knob and white illumination, and it looks really kind of OEM-ish. It's got a nice mix of glossy and matte, so it kind of goes with anything, I think. I'm testing it now, so when I write my review up tonight to go live, probably tomorrow on the CarTech blog, you'll know if it's actually a good radio outside of that. But also, I think Alpine has their IXA W300, 305 that we've tested. Also, would probably look really good in your car. If you're just talking about what something looks like.
Now, have you looked at the dashboard kits for the Genesis Coupe?
I mean, no.
Okay.
I haven't looked at them, but I know they exist.
Right. So this is something you'll need to do first to replace that center stack.
And if you've got automatic climate controls, it could be as simple as just making sure you have the right module that allows you to keep those climate control that you already have intact, or you may end up having to replace them. I very seriously doubt you'll have to do that based on the Genesis's dashboard orientation. You'll probably just need to find some sort of a module breakout box or something.
Right, and that car has a standard. Its stereo is basically a single DIN.
It's about double DIN size, actually. Even when you don't have nav, that screen takes up about a double DIN space.
Mm-hmm.
So you should be pretty good to go there. The Alpine that I talked about at the top of this email was the IVE W530. It's got like a little tiny chrome knob and some buttons on it, but I think it's a pretty OEM looking unit. Definitely check that out.
Right, I do like that Parrot you're testing. I had got a glance of it earlier, and
I like the way it looks, but the knob that you use for all of your controls, because it's not a touch screen, is this sort of clear plastic deal, and it's a little sharp, and it's also a little smooth for me to be like quickly I like to yank the knob around. That's a little weird. I like to very quickly adjust the volume, and it just I've been testing it on my desk for the first day, and so without any sort of it's sliding around, the knob doesn't feel really great in my hand. Maybe it'll feel better when I get it in the dashboard. And
maybe you need to wrap rubber bands around the outside of the
but then now you're just making it ugly.
Right. Well, speaking of the DIY side of this, he actually I don't think he's going to have a problem with putting the USB port and the aux jack in the console.
I mean, it may just be a simple case of yanking the ones that are out and hot gluing new ones in. That's probably what Fry's and Best Buy are going to do. If they don't do that, they'll probably just end up cutting the backs of them off and splicing those connections manually.
Yeah, I actually didn't think about that, but yeah, there are already those connectors in the console.
I mean, that's what I would do. But I mean, that's probably not the best way to if you ever want to put the car back to stock, you'd run into an issue there. What I would do is get a new panel from a junkyard. Someone's wrecked a Genesis by now, and then just cut the backs of those off and then splice the new connections in. I mean, the USB connection is 4 wires, maybe 6, and the auxiliary connection is 2.
Yeah, auxiliary will be easy. The USB
doesn't
is a little
even have
harder.
to be pretty.
It's
going to be A, in your center console, and B, underneath the dashboard.
That's true. I just, Phil, I'm not sure that you don't really say exactly why you think the head unit is horrible.
Yeah, that's the other weird thing.
Yeah, I thought it was fine. I mean,
I think it's one of my favorite non-premium interfaces. I mean, the interface is simple enough, but I mean, what you get with it. Even their stripped down R-Spec Genesis Coupe, you get Bluetooth audio streaming, You get Bluetooth hands-free calling with voice command, with a really great sync system. By sync, I don't mean forward sync. I mean like address sync.
Yeah.
And it's not really that difficult. It's not pretty, but it's not ugly either. It's just very utilitarian, I think.
Yeah, it works. I think the interface is, it's minimal because you're just working with a radio display, but it's not bad.
But I mean, different strokes for different folks.
Yeah.
Maybe he just doesn't like the way it looks.
Yeah,
Maybe he doesn't like using the knob to scroll through his songs.
That could be. Now, if it is a question of sound, if it is a question of audio quality, probably attacking the head unit isn't really the way to go.
Right.
For that, you probably want to look at amps and speakers.
Yeah, but he just said that the head unit's horrible. We don't know what that means.
Yeah.
If it's sound quality, replacing the head unit ain't gonna do it. That's like saying my car handles poorly and then upgrading your engine.
Yeah. Or putting a new steering wheel.
Yeah, you're not doing anything where the rubber meets the road there. But again, I still thought the system sounded pretty good. Anyway, it's not really a matter of my preference at that point.
Yeah. So Phil,
Phil's preference.
There's definitely options for you here.
Right.
We've got another Phil. Actually, this is a different Phil.
Different Phil.
Wrote to us from Massachusetts. Phil says, I'd be interested to see if you have anything to report about the new 2013 Lincoln MKS at the Detroit Auto Show. Well, I was just at the Detroit Auto Show, and they had the MKS there, but that wasn't really the star of the show because they had already shown the MKS in Los Angeles, and we did a full coverage of it there. What did we report on that car?
It's got a new face, more streamlined.
That's right. It's their new sort of grille look.
I mean, it doesn't look dramatically different from the old one, but it's just kind of flows better into the headlights. Basically a streamlined look. And they also discussed a couple of different sort of packaging changes, like new features that they're going to add. To be frank, though, the last time I thought about the MKS was in November. So we'll put a link in the show notes for you to go check out exactly what I thought about it.
It's not it's not a huge change.
It's a visual refresh. It's like the equivalent of like, well, we're not going to change the underpinning platform or really make too many huge changes, but we'll tweak the tail lights, tweak the headlights, add a couple of new option packages. But I mean, I think without seeing it side by side.
Well, it's interesting, and we've got a picture up here that actually shows the new grille. And for some reason, it seems like everybody's, when they talk about the new MKS or Lincoln's move forward or way forward, is they mainly talk about the grille. They haven't really talked much about the engines or anything else. And this is all Ford technology and powertrains, which is good stuff these days.
Anything you can say about the MKS, you could just basically transpose from a Ford Taurus review, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, at that point, it just becomes I don't want to drive a car that looks like a Ford Taurus. I like my car to have an epic stash.
Yeah, this is definitely... It's a dramatic look.
It's a good looking car, I think.
Yeah.
Personally, I really like the way it looks. I mean, I joke around about the mustache, but when you see the car in person, I mean, it prints really well in person. It's just really sleek and streamlined, and it looks, like back in the day, cars were kind of designed to look slick. I mean, they may not have been the most aerodynamic, but they were kind of designed to look like liquid metal or whatever that, and it kind of brings a little bit of that back to me. That I think the crowd, the combination of like young and older crowd that Lincoln's trying to target will both appreciate.
Yeah, I'm just looking at our story on there from LA, and there's a couple cool things. They already had the EcoBoost engine, which is the 3.5 liter direct injection with turbocharging, so a lot of power there. And they also are going to an adaptive suspension, which they didn't have before, and it's good to see that new technology coming from Ford, or from Lincoln Ford, both companies. So
Ford, Lincoln, Mercury,
right, the whole thing.
What happened to Mercury? They're dead.
Anyway, I just tossed a link. We'll put a link in our show notes for that, too, of the coverage we did of that. So, yes, we have covered that car. Very cool car. But moving on.
Right. We got another email from not a Phil. This one is from Ruben Sandwich. I'm pretty sure that's not his last name. And it says, if car technologies are getting more advanced, then why does my Kia Optima with the turbocharged direct injection only use regular gas versus premium gas? And if I use premium gas, will I get more horsepower and a faster 0 to 60 time? Thanks, guys. Love the show. See you when you get back from CES.
Do you need a faster 0 to 60 with your Optima?
Yes, the Kia Optima is a cool car. But I would posit that the reason that your Kia Optima runs on regular gas is because of all of the advanced technology in your car. 10 years ago, if you had a turbocharged engine and you put cheap pump gas in it, it would be a knocking, detonating mess. Like it would not run smoothly. You would not have a good time, and you find yourself, quoting the Fast and the Furious, when you blow the welds from your intake manifold, whatever that means. So the fact that your vehicle can handle a forced induction and not destroy itself is because you're taking advantage of the advanced engine management that we've seen growing over the last couple of decades, and direct injection, which is basically allows you to more accurately meter the fuel that you get in. It used to be when you turbocharge an engine, you oftentimes find yourself putting more air into the engine than the car was smart enough to handle. And then what you would get is pre-detonation, which basically means the explosion that happens in the combustion chamber would happen before the piston was at top dead center and ready to start coming down. So basically, you've got the piston coming up and the explosion kind of hits it, and you basically are shocking the crap out of your engine. Now that cars are smarter, they know everything that's going on. They can more accurately meter that fuel, and that's why you can run the cheap gas. And I would venture that if you put premium gas in the car that says put cheap gas in it, if it says put regular octane in, and then you decide to go above and beyond and put premium gas in, you might see a performance boost, but you might not.
It might be so small. I think there would be, because I've seen situations where car companies will say you can put regular or premium gas in this car, but you'll get better mileage.
But I find those are usually cars that are designed to run on premium, and then they say, well, you could put the cheap gas in it if you want to.
Yeah, it won't hurt anything.
If they come out of the door saying put the cheap gas in, that means that when you put that premium gas in that is basically higher octane and more resistant to detonation, then your engine control systems will basically go, oh, so I don't have to work so hard to not detonate. Cool, I'll just do what I normally do.
Right.
And you won't really see a huge bump. That's my theory. I wouldn't know this without actually doing some instrumented testing.
Right. I mean, you could test it if you want to.
It can't hurt.
But I don't think you're going to notice a big difference.
You don't mind paying an extra like $5 at the pump every time? Sure, go for it.
Yeah, I mean,
personally, I'd buy a hot dog with that money.
It'd be interesting to do this but I think you'd only notice a difference if you really got down with the instruments and did very controlled testing. Said, okay, now I've got a full tank of premium gas, and I'm going to do a 0 to 60, and I'm going to measure my fuel mileage over a certain amount of time,
right,
and then do the same thing with tank of regular.
And you were saying, Wayne, that you think that you'll probably see if you see anything, you'll see a jump in fuel economy.
Yeah, I think that's mostly what you'd get. I don't think you'd get. And I think too, if you just threw in premium and said, do I feel like I'm going faster? You might feel
probably
like
get that placebo.
Right.
I love to use the story of when I put 100 octane gas into my 2000 Mitsubishi Galant, and I'm just like, yeah, it's faster. I guarantee you it wasn't. I just needed to feel like I was justified in paying $5 a gallon for gas.
Yeah,
this is back when 100 octane was $5 a gallon.
Yeah. Now it's probably $8 if you can find it.
Right.
So yeah, probably definitely no appreciable gain off of premium, or not worth it really.
But you're welcome to try it out. Yeah. You definitely won't break your car by treating it better than it needs to.
What's a better way to get a faster 0 to 60 out of a Kia Optima than putting premium gas in it?
Better tires.
Yeah, okay. No turbocharging, nothing like that.
Well, it's already got the turbo.
Oh, this one already has the turbo.
It's like, what are you going to do?
Nobody's come out with chipping yet for this car. If they could chip it, and you might get more power out of it.
You might be able to do that. You'll probably
cold air intakes.
I was about to say, just make sure that you keep your air filter changed and your oil changed. And it's probably going to be. I realize now that I sound a lot like my dad. It's just like, you don't need to do all that. Just change your oil and check your air filter.
Yeah. Don't go crazy with all this performance.
Make sure that your air pressure in your tires is right.
They're wasting your money on that crap.
What was funny is when I was a teenager, I was so into suspension tuning and cold air intakes that I just would never check the air pressure in my tires, and it would always be low. And I would, be outside in the garage with my dad, and we'd be talking about car stuff and blah blah blah, and he'd just go your tires look a little low, and I would just immediately feel stupid.
Right. Like, oh, I forgot to do that. Yeah.
It's like the most basic thing ever. It's like giving a speech in front of a large group of people on something incredibly intelligent, and then at the end someone says your fly's unzipped. Is how I would feel when he would point out my air pressure.
Here's the easy thing. Yeah. So moving on here, next email we get from Alan W., who says, can you talk about or review the best online auto repair websites or CD repair products like All Data DIY? I have a 2004 Cayenne S and like to do my own repairs. Which ones do you like? So I think, we go back to the paper manuals with those, right?
Yeah. Again, when I was growing up, every car that I bought, not that I bought, my first couple cars were hand-me-downs, but, any car that I had, within like a month or two of owning it, I had like a Haynes paper manual. Just like, all right, well, where's everything? If you need to know what you need to take off before you get to the CV, you need to change a CV boot or something. Like, you need to have those sort of things. And the reason I like paper manuals is like you can't drop it and break it. It's just you can drag it underneath the car and spill oil on it and never have to worry about breaking your laptop because you're looking at a CD.
I've done the same thing with Haynes or Chilton too.
Mm-hmm.
Usually, you get the new car, used car, whatever, and the first thing you do is you get that paper manual. I have done some reporting in the last year on both of those companies. Haynes and Chilton are bringing their manuals to an online format, and the way they have it set up is they don't have all the different vehicles. They're starting off with their most popular vehicles or most popular manuals. And, I think Haynes has maybe 20 to 30 of them up now. And you pay a subscription price.
Right.
You pay like, I don't know, $10 a year or something, or $15 a year. And
that's also how All Data DIY that Alan mentions in his email works. You pay like $19 a year for your car. And I guess all of that talk about Haynes is for the benefit of the rest of our readers, because they don't even offer a Porsche Cayenne manual. I think the only thing they have is like a Porsche 944, and that's out of print. So they don't even have a Porsche Cayenne manual. Sorry, Alan. So it looks like your best bet would be something like All Data DIY, but it's difficult for us to kind of check exactly what they have on exactly your car, because I'm not going to pay $19 for every single car just to verify it.
Well, I also, I think we've got a good point though about going paper over an online version, because because my manuals, for my cars would always, the pages would have grease smudges on them.
That's character.
Yeah, they totally have character. The pages are leafed and stuff like that. And when you're working on brakes or something, the brakes section, and it's got all these dirt smudges and grease smudges
like
around.
Thumbprints of brake dust.
Yeah, and I don't want to get those same smudges and stuff on my computer, on my laptop. Or
you get like a second janky laptop that you just buy for like $100,
just to bring out for that kind of
laptop.
stuff.
Yeah,
sure.
Get one of those like OLPCs for $100.
Right, or get a little cover, a plastic cover for them like they have in the shops.
Yeah.
So
Tough book or something.
Yeah, you're not messing up anything with all that grease and stuff. I don't know. Yeah, it is convenient with the online manual to be able to.
And sometimes they'll let you print those pages out.
Yeah.
Where if you're like, all right, I just need to print a diagram of the brake system, or print a diagram of the rear sway bar assembly, you just. I think All Data DIY does offer printable resolutions for any of their illustrations if you pay the subscription. And I actually went through their demo. They have like a demo for like a 2001 Ford Focus or something, and they have a lot of stuff that you would kind of expect to see in a paper shop manual. But I just can't confirm they have it for every vehicle. Is what has me a little worried. So I would say that. It's $19. It's not really that big of a deal. It's not really that big of an expense if you own a Cayenne. I hate to like stereotype Porsche owners, but if you own a Cayenne, like spend $19 and check it out.
What I've seen with the Haynes and the Chilton manuals online is they actually do color pictures, which they usually do black and white in the paper manuals, which is nice. And sometimes they even have a little video that shows, although. The video isn't specific to the car. The video is just sort of a general thing. It's like how to change the oil in a car, and we're using this Chevy Malibu here, but you might have something different. But it's basically the same.
Usually.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of potential for these things to do a lot of nice detailed information online. Because also being able to hyperlink around is very convenient.
Also, being able to search is very convenient because as good as the best index is, is not nearly as good as just searching.
So I'm actually going to look and see if the Porsche Cayenne is the 2004 Porsche Cayenne is available in all data DIY. I assume since
It's in there.
Okay.
Yeah,
You
I
already
looked it
checked.
up before the show.
Yeah.
It's in there, but it's just
Oh, yeah.
all right, now you gotta pay $19 to look at it, and then you can only look at it for a year.
Right. I haven't seen the all data DIY manuals. I just really know that the Haynes and Chilton ones, which are, I assume these are very similar if they're going to be competing.
Well, I mean, there's a lot of stuff that you can get on all data DIY, like you can look up part numbers. There's a tool that lets you estimate what labor would be if you just don't feel like paying for it. So it's like, well, this thing would take about this long. So here's about how much you could expect to pay for labor if your mechanic wants to charge you this much per hour. And so it's an interesting tool for DIYers, and when you get in over your head for basically estimating what you can expect to pay someone else for these sort of things, and even like cost estimates for like how much is a tie rod end for an Acura RSX going to cost me? It should cost about this. Then you have some sort of a way of arming yourself when you go to buy those parts for your DIY stuff. That's something the paper manuals just don't do. But it's also something that you could probably easily accomplish with a basic Google search once you have the part number, but it's kind of interesting that it's all there.
Yeah, Chilton had something similar to that too. I'm actually looking at the Chilton site right now for their manuals, their online bit. They don't seem to have Porsche at all.
They don't.
No.
They don't, and I know Haynes doesn't. I think I already mentioned that though.
Yeah.
It's hard for me that their website was just really difficult for me to navigate. So.
Oh yeah. Yeah, they're. Yeah, it doesn't seem like it was their primary business. They started out with paper, and so the transition to the web was a little rough on them.
I think they're also starting to kind of. I mean, they may have actually already been doing this, but kind of just focusing on training. So it's like, you can get like Chilton certified in brake work,
right,
or something like that. So a lot of their online materials are just kind of aimed at like getting you into a class or something.
Yeah, that makes sense.
All right, we got another listener who wants to put an aftermarket stereo in his car. This time, it's a 2010 Chevy Camaro, and I apologize if I mispronounced your name, Ifeyemi. And he basically just bought a 2010 Chevrolet Camaro. Hooray for him! Unfortunately, he's not very excited about the tech in the car. He's trying to get an aftermarket doubled-in head unit, and he wants to remove the factory radio, and he's only found 2 head unit kits, but both of those lose the knobs for the climate control. He really likes the knobs. He just likes the look of them. And his question is, are we aware of any dash kits for the Gen 5 Camaro that retain those factory-style knobs for the AC controls? The answer to that is very simply no. Because if you look at the dashboard of the Camaro, you see that it only really comes with that single DIN opening for the radio. And then the knobs are just below that. The problem is if you get a doubled-in unit that's taller than that, now your screen starts to interfere with where the knobs would normally go. And that's why you see all of these really good, by the way, aftermarket Camaro dashboards switch over to button interfaces. So the Matra 99301OS that he actually already found basically switches to a bank of buttons for your climate controls. And Scosche actually has a kit that also uses 2 banks of buttons, but it also has a small, like 4-inch color LCD, so you'll be able to like see what temperature you're setting, or what fan speed you're setting, or what sort of like vent configuration that you're setting. It's kind of cool looking, I think. It's also $350. So $350 for a dashboard kit on top of what's already going to be like $700 or $800 for a stereo. Could get kind of pricey.
I think a good suggestion here might be to, I don't know if he needs to go with a double DIN, since you can get a lot of functionality in the single DIN units now.
Well, the problem with that is nobody makes single DIN openings anymore. They don't make single DIN kits anymore. They just make double DIN kits, and then they give you a little plastic pocket to put your iPhone in or whatever. It just works out cheaper that way than the manufacturing 2 kits, and it basically allows them to keep the cost down on their tooling and whatnot.
Do you think there's any possibility of putting a replacement single DIN into a Camaro?
I've never seen a single DIN kit, so if you do, it's going to be something that you have to do yourself.
Yeah.
And that's when things start getting funny looking. unless you're like experienced in working with fiberglass or something.
Yeah, if you can find a fabricator that can do it for, maybe not too much money,
Right.
hopefully.
But then you run into the issue of, well, the reason these kits are so expensive is because they come with that breakout box built into them that basically your climate controls run through your stereo system, all of that's run into the same wiring harness. So when you yank out that stereo, even if you just cut it out with a Dremel and pulled out whatever happens to be behind there, you'd be left with a bunch of knobs that don't connect to anything. Mm-hmm. So that's why these kits replace those knobs with buttons, and that's why a kit that basically only adds buttons ends up costing you a couple $100. So, like, yeah, the kits that we're showing right now are universal kits for a bunch of different cars. But in the Camaro's case, it's just
right. You won't be able
where
to
those knobs are.
Preserve that. Yeah. So either if you you're either going to have to stick with the tech that lives in the Camaro. I don't know if there's any way of proving that except through plug-in devices.
If I had to guess, and I often make a lot of assumptions about what people send in their emails because, it's not really easy to talk back and forth, but I'm guessing he wants true navigation since he's talking about getting an aftermarket doubled-in unit, and you can't get the Camaro with anything but OnStar Nav, as far as I know.
Right. That's true. Yeah.
So if you really want that navigation with the locally stored maps in the dashboard and all that, you're gonna have to give up the knobs. It's just kind of par for the course.
Yeah. So we got one last question here that I think we're going to hit kind of quickly here as we get close to wrapping up our show. This is from JDW. We only get initials for JDW. He says, I watch all of your video reviews and find them so helpful. I am in the process of researching to purchase a new car. I was looking at 2010 to 2012 Buick LaCrosse CXS, as well as the new 2012 Audi A6 2.0 TFSI. I haven't test drove the LaCrosse, but I have driven the Audi A6 and am a previous 2007 Lexus ES 350 owner. I was wondering, in your opinion, which vehicle is better? It says, I'm a graduate student at Harvard University and will soon be graduating. I also will be traveling to and fro, putting plenty of miles on my next vehicle. I need something that is reliable, and I desire something that is comfortable to drive long distances as well as fuel economical, but also stylish. My budget is not extremely large, but I believe it is a worthwhile investment to get a vehicle that will endure for 5 to 6 years after purchase without being obsolete in its technology and tastefulness. I guess he must have graduated from the traveling salesman program at Harvard.
What?
It sounds like.
They still have that? They give you a carpet bag on your way out?
Right. You get your suitcase full of wares and you knock on people's doors and go, I want to show you the new. That's a Harvard program. It's
show you the kitchen of the future. See?
Big, important Harvard program. Yeah. So, JDW, I drove the Buick LaCrosse last year briefly. We haven't got it in for a full review, the latest one, but it is a really nice car. And one thing cool that they're doing with it is putting a hybrid standard. You won't be able to get this car without a hybrid engine system. And it's technically a mild hybrid system, but I was pretty impressed with it. I thought it worked really well. And for my brief drive, it seemed to get good fuel economy. Can't really tell until we get it in for a longer run. Mm-hmm. But it was, they did a great job of making a very affordable luxury feeling car. I don't know, luxury feeling car, actually luxury car.
Well, I mean, Buick is a premium brand.
Yeah, and they will have good technology in that. So I certainly like the LaCrosse. The A6, not a bad car either. I think you'll spend a lot more on the A6. I think you're talking about a $20,000 price differential.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's a lot of money. That's a whole extra car.
Yeah.
So
because the LaCrosse is like a $30,000 car.
Yeah, but I mean,
there's some options in there.
Can't afford it. Here we go with my stereotypes again.
Right.
Come on.
Depends on what commissions he makes on that traveling salesman salary.
Think about how many vacuum cleaners you have to sell for that $20,000 price.
Both of these cars are going to be a long way from your ES350, which I think we've kind of considered as sort of a glorified Toyota.
It basically is a Camry.
It's just. Yeah, I mean it's got Lexus luxury. It's comfortable that way.
I don't think there's a single thing you can get on the 2007 ES350 that you can't get on a premium Camry.
Yeah,
probably not. I mean, unless you just really like wood grain interior.
Yeah, so the LaCrosse is, I think, a good choice actually, and an affordable choice, and has good technology in it. The ones I've seen, the ones I've tested, they're actually putting their whole IntelliLink app system and all that. So they'll have some really good modern technology. The 2012 A6 also great technology in that car, And I'm a fan of their 2.0 TFSI, even though the A6 is a fairly large car. I think it's that engine is enough to give that car plenty of power. Plus, you get that this Google navigation system and the wired connection in this car, which we've liked here at CarTech quite a bit. I'm trying to think if there's anything we haven't thought of for JDW here. Actually, one other car I would think to look at would be the Mercedes-Benz C-Class.
I thought you were going to go Infinity. I really did. I thought you were going to go Infinity there.
Yeah, I guess we don't have an Asian representative here as far
because,
as...
I mean, that's kind of where I would go Infinity G.
Although, I would wait for Infinity to... We need a new generation of their tech in the car. I wouldn't recommend the Infinity just now. It's, the Infinity G has been riding on its, 5-year-old technology at this point. So I suppose. I think it needs it's a great looking car. It's a nice, solid, reliable.
I think the reason that I think so highly of Infinity is that it's the closest thing that I can compare it to is an Acura, and they're riding on 10-year-old technology.
That's true. Yeah, both of those are long due for an update. Another car actually in the Lexus vein is the Lexus IS. That's a pretty nice fun.
I haven't seen an IS side by side with an A6. Are they about the same size? Or?
Yeah. I think the IS might be a little bit smaller.
Yeah, I think it's maybe straddles the A4, A6 line.
Yeah, but from an IS you go up to a GS. I think the ES I think might even be actually between those two cars in size. But again, we've
discussed the ES anymore.
We've already downplayed the ES.
But the new Lexus GS is a pretty sweet looking car. The one that just came out with the new El Finesse design.
Yeah, that's true.
It's a good looking car.
That can be very
especially
nice.
If you get the F Sport. The F Sport package.
Yeah,
it's I can't wait to drive that. I can't believe I'm saying I'm excited about driving a Lexus, but I cannot wait to drive that GS with the F Sport.
Right, you had some time in the LFA, so you're on a little Lexus bender right now.
Oh yeah, I guess I have said I've been excited about driving a Lexus before. The LFA doesn't count though.
That's true. That's not really a Lexus.
Yeah. That's
something entirely different. I think. Just back to the
original question.
Mercedes C-Class. It's the C-Class is a nice, especially the C300. I definitely prefer that over the C350, even though the bigger engine will give you more horsepower and stuff. You don't really need it. Mm-hmm. And the C300 is a nice, comfortable car, stylish, good, solid technology in there. It's super advanced at this point, but it's also a car 35,000 you'd probably spend total on it. And that's about, the Buick might come a little bit under that. The A6, I think, would definitely be over that. Audi's.
So why would you go C and not E?
Yeah, well, I personally, especially for, just graduating from Harvard.
Mm-hmm.
Well, he's a graduate student. Okay, that's a different thing. Graduate student.
So, he's not going to be graduating from Harvard with undergrad.
He'll soon be graduating, yeah.
This guy's going to be coming out with
a little older.
master's.
I was thinking if you're younger, maybe the C-Class. I like the C-Class, and personally, this is my preference for slightly smaller cars. Mm-hmm. They seem more nimble, more usable. I guess if you want to carry around business partners in the back seat, you might want the big limo-style car. But
yeah,
I like the smaller.
I feel like the E-Coupe is pretty small.
Oh, yeah.
It's not tiny, but I think it's probably closer in size to the Buick and the A6 than the C is.
Yeah, but JDW's talking sedans here.
Well.
I think he wants the rear doors. Otherwise, I would say go for the Audi S5 because that's an awesome car.
yeah, there's that also. There's a lot of different choices there, but if you had tossed up just between the Buick and the Audi.
Yeah, I would. I like the driving in the Audi better, and I like the tech in it better at this point. So I would go with the Audi, but if I didn't have the extra $20,000 to spend, I'd go with the Buick.
Or a cheaper Audi.
yeah. There you go.
All right, so those are our emails for this week. I'm actually surprised that we got through all of them, and we don't have low cars because we wanted to devote the whole show to making sure that we got all those emails. Some of those have been kind of sitting in our queue since, before CES.
Festering.
So we're going to make sure we get around to all of your emails. So if you have a question or a comment that you want to give us, we're wide open for it. We got plenty of time for those now in next week's show. Send them to cartech@cnet.com, or you can leave us a voicemail, 866-401-CNET. That's 866-401-2638. You can also find the show notes for this show and all our other show, CarTech Live, at cartech.cnet.com. And, of course, you can follow us all on Twitter. I'm Antgoo, ANTGOO. Wayne is Wayne C_SF. Brian Cooley, who wasn't here with us this week but should be back next week, is Brian Cooley, one word. And then, of course, you can get all of your car tech news on Twitter at CNET Car Tech.
And we're up.